Well, we'll now have a chance to hear from a couple of students, which I think is always, for me anyway, the absolute highlight of these 2 days. And I'll pull out a comment I heard last year from the student speaker. She said, Fletcher is a place where you cannot hide. And what she meant was that it's part of what Jenny just talked about. It's such an open community. This year, the students have chosen 2 of their own to come and talk about their experience here, their views of life, or anything else that they want to take a moment and talk to us about. The 2 are McCallie and Fern Gray. Let me start by telling you about Annie, and we can have a big round of applause for Annie, and then we'll do the same thing for Fern Gray. I think everybody knows both of these 2 remarkable young women. They're both MALD students. Anna came here from Harvard, not directly, I'll go into that in a minute, but she has a wonderful academic as well as a terrific professional background. Anna won not only the Gullion Prize, as we just heard yesterday, for the 2 years of accomplishment. Last year, I'll remind you that she won the Stewart Prize. That's a very limited universe of people that have won those 2 prizes, and it is really quite a remarkable achievement. Anna here at Fletcher, as I think most of the students know, has been a leading force in all of the activities outside of the classroom, as well as excelling inside the classroom. She's been a research assistant to Professor Emeritus Bill Muma. She has been at the heart and soul of the annual Tufts Energy Conference, which I believe is the largest student-run conference, not only at Tufts, possibly in New England. She has also led the charge on the Fletcher Follies and Americana Night. The fun never stops with Anna. And for those of you who don't know, between Harvard and coming here where she has done so brilliantly as a student, she spent 2 years as a 5th grade teacher in Teach for America. How's that for an extraordinary young woman? Please join me up here, Anna. Really proud of you. Welcome, Deb.
Thank you. Good morning, or good noon time. Thank you, Dean Stavridis. Thank you, friends, family, faculty, and assorted hangers-on. I'd like to use my allotted time today to share some solemn reflections on the nature of the human spirit. I'm kidding. I'm gonna make some jokes about what it's like to be a student here. Shall we? Webster's dictionary defines cliched speech opening as what I'm doing right now. But it's lacking entries for a few terms we're all familiar with. Mauled, LLM, MIB, MAHA. Just kidding, nobody knows what a MAHA is. Least of all the dictionary. Those entries aren't in there because you, Fletcher, like the term human security, are pretty hard to define. What is this place? I ask myself that question a lot, especially when I'm trying to explain to my friends that I'm not actually in law school. And the best explanation I've come up with so far is that we're a conglomeration of people from all over the world with vastly different interests, studying vastly different things, and the only thing we have in common is that we're not normal. And believe me, I mean that in the best possible way. I'm going to give you a few examples, starting with Brian Kurbis. This man, grew up in Nebraska, but has spent a third of his life in Sudan. Let me say that again. He grew up in Nebraska, where I would bet 98% of the people don't even know that Sudan is a country, let alone have any desire to live there. And I know that because I grew up in Kansas, where it's probably 99%. Oh, and by the way, we have another Nebraskan who's currently in Azerbaijan picking up his 9th or 10th Eurasian language, and another one who spent most of last year in China. And people, this is just the Nebraskans. I could pick students from any other state or country represented at this school and make the same point. We are people who want nothing more than to know the world. Though if we're just spitballing here, a paying job with benefits would also be nice. Yeah, I'd say priority 1, know the world. Priority 2, good job, benefits. That order is flexible. This is a difficult position, though, because it turns out the world is pretty big, and we are but humble graduate students in humble Medford. How do we figure out which part of the puzzle to solve? Well, I think we do it by defining ourselves. And how do we do that? I'm so glad you asked. In the copious amounts of free time afforded to me as a Fletcher student, that's a joke, I've been taking improv comedy classes. It's pretty fun and has really prepared me to go off on meaningless tangents during class. So once again, apologies to all of my professors. Anyway, the first rule of improv is to say yes. Not only yes, but yes and. So if you're on stage and your partner opens the scene with, well, here we are on a boat, the absolute worst thing you can do is say, no, we're not on a boat, we're on a plane. This undercuts your partner's ideas and kills the scene. You are not positively contributing to the conversation. What you should do instead, after he says, well, here we are on a boat, is say something like, yeah, who knew those Somali pirates could be so accommodating? Now we've got ourselves a scene. In her memoir, Bossy Pants, my personal hero / spirit animal, Tina Fey, explains why the yes and rule is applicable to real life. She says, to me, yes and means don't be afraid to contribute. It's your responsibility to contribute. Always make sure you're adding something to the discussion. Your initiations are worthwhile. This is what I mean by the need to define ourselves. It's about contributing. It's about having a sense of purpose in everything we do. It's about knowing that we have something to say and that we are qualified to say it, even if our actual degree is unrecognizable to anyone who didn't attend this school. The challenge for us at Fletcher is to marry this serious mission with the capacity to enjoy the lighter side of things. After all, we voluntarily study some of the most heinous and horrible subjects known to man: genocide, terrorism, corporate finance. It's too easy to get stuck, mired in these dark places, like when you look up from your Carol and Ginn and realize you haven't seen the sun in 3 months. Avoid this at all costs. First, because after this winter, we all need the vitamin D. Second, because ignoring our own happiness won't help us fix the world's problems. We must endeavor to not take things seriously once in a while. You know, yeah, sure, pause for applause. After all, I think it was WebMD that said, laughter is the best medicine. Listen, we're all gonna get jobs. We're all gonna make 6 figures if you count both decimal places. But what's not guaranteed is happiness. That's something we have to work for every day. So remember the things here that gave you pleasure, from free food in the Hall of Flags at social hour to free food in the Hall of Flags after events. Strive to replicate them, even when you're out in the big bad world where there is no Hall of Flags, and I'm told, hardly ever any free food. There's a quote usually attributed to the Roman poet Horace that perfectly sums up what I'm trying to say here. It goes, "Mix a little foolishness with your serious plans. It is lovely to be silly at the right moment." So define yourself, define your happiness, and in doing so, you'll define Fletcher better than any dictionary ever could. Thank you.
terrific. We have another speaker who I think is going to go at it in a kind of a different way. And I think we could say that almost by definition. Fern, I think pretty much everybody knows. Her smile lights up a room more than anybody I've met in years and years and years. She's a native of Trinidad and Tobago, where people's smiles tend to light up the room. It is a fabulous country. I see we got some T&T folks in the audience. That's good. I've visited many, many times this beautiful pair of islands off the coast of South America, an energy hub in the Caribbean. And that's kind of what Fern has done here. She's worked in the energy world, been a mainstay in the SERP Center. She has been also very involved in the energy conference. She's also been very focused on diversity and working to improve it, working on various inclusion initiatives. It's a wonderful package of effort, and it reflects her marvelous undergraduate experience at Howard University, as well as her work at Wells Fargo on the investment side, touching energy, energy derivatives. And she is someone, Anna, who does have a job already. And I'm sure it's going to be in six figures when you move the decimal point. Fern is headed off to South America, to Guyana, where she is going to be doing some work for CARICOM, initially looking at energy in the Gulf. She is immediately leaping into the practical world. I suspect she was chosen by her classmates because she is incredibly collegial, friendly, and her personality fills us all with life. Fern Gray, please join us up here.
Come to the edge, he said. They said, we are afraid. Come to the edge, he said. They came, he pushed them, and they flew. To the university's community, alumni, students, friends of the Fletcher School, welcome and good afternoon. I'm truly honored to celebrate our collective accomplishments today. Commencement represents the beginning, a kickstart for some, a restart for others. It is a time when great expectation and uncertainty collide, unify, and re-emerge anew as courage. Today, I want to speak a little bit about courage. In the words of Eleanor Roosevelt, courage is more exhilarating than fear. We do not have to become heroes overnight, just a step at a time, seeing it not as dreadful as it appeared, discovering we have the strength to stare it down. Forged in the midst of the Great Depression, foreseeing a more open and connected world, the creation of the coalition that was the Fletcher School was an act of courage. Continuing today, its cross-cutting curriculum and integrative approach to understanding the growing complexities in an interconnected world are by all standards exemplary. Throughout history, as nations became less isolated and boundaries were laid to rest, Fletcher too opened her doors. And today, welcomes students speaking 34 native languages from 49 different countries, including my home, Trinidad and Tobago. It is no secret that when you think of the Caribbean, a powerhouse for international affairs does not come to mind. That's my only joke, I know. We boast of pristine beaches and a thrilling carnival. Yet I am here, and I am not alone. Burma, Mauritius, Philippines, Zimbabwe, Nepal, Ecuador. We few came to challenge conventional wisdom. We too came to be a part of the conversation. For others, coming to Fletcher brought you home. Home from Indonesia, Tunisia, Jordan, China, Macedonia, from the far reaches of the globe, from the shadows. For many like myself, it represented somewhat of a career change. As Dean Stavridis can attest to, coming here was a game changer, a catalyst. It was an opportunity to learn from leaders in the field, an investment in intellectual capital, as Professor Henriksen always says. Taking this step was a daring and courageous move, and we all did it. The world we left to attend Fletcher was not that different from the world we enter today. Bitter conflicts, shortages of resources, socioeconomic inequalities, and ethnic and religious injustices still plague our nations. What is forever changed, however, is within. Something happened while we were here. Our senses are now alive, and we are armored with a battery of intellect and understanding, which enables a distinctive approach to problem solving. If I were to reflect on my experiences, I can affirm that we've built confidence through collaboration, not competition. Time and time again, we've drawn on expertise within our ranks to rationalize and harmonize ideas, to gain a deeper perspective. Using Alison Erbinger's words, Fletcher is better than any textbook. We legitimize and authenticate each other's ideas and positions in-house. That being said, I will one-up Alison's affirmation. Fletcher is, in fact, better than Google. We've been supported as advocates and agents of change as well. The student-led diversity and inclusion initiative, the Coffee Chat Club, has increased awareness and institutional change on issues of inclusive leadership right here at Fletcher, a critical tool for service to a diverse global community. The persistent effort of its members today ensures that the talent of our diverse student body are fully leveraged to the benefit of future classes. These efforts would not be possible, however, without the support of our administrators who were open to practical, responsive change. Thank you, Dean Johnstone and Dean Sheehan, for your leadership, and to Mary DeLautry for being a driving force. Where's Mary? Giselle Gopez, Breon Dawson, and many others. You guys are fearless and have taught us that courage can also be quiet and nimble, all while delivering a powerful blow. Now that we've been through the ringer, what is next? Some of us will join the ranks at nonprofits or multinational organizations. We will infiltrate the private sector or return to our native soil within a Ministry of Justice or Trade or Foreign Affairs. We may assume a diplomatic post in a faraway place. We will be designing log frames, monitoring indicators, evaluating program outcomes, and of course, our instruments will be valid. Thanks, Rachel, for that. We will be discovering, writing, collaborating. We will be doing it all. As we look ahead, our major challenge will not be success. Our alumni have demonstrated that success is in our destiny. The challenge for us is that when we stand up to be counted, we must also be counted on. Counted on to be persistent and courageous, to speak up against injustice, even when fear tightens its tireless grip. Counted on to be patient and to show restraint, all the while forging ahead. And counted on to be compassionate, inclusive, because solving our world's problems now demands it. A few words from our faculty. Dean Johnstone artfully says, resist the urge to become overwhelmed. Just because you aren't an expert today does not mean you cannot contribute today. Just stick to it. Professor Shayna's advice for his eager MIBs: relax. Have confidence in what you bring to the table. Let the world come to you. You will be successful. And finally, a little bit from Professor Salacuse. You are entrepreneurial and can operate in an environment of risk. You look at this eagerly. As he says, this is business as usual for us here at Fletcher. Thank you to the parents who supported our pursuit of a mold having no idea exactly what a mold meant, Daddy, I don't think he knows as yet, to the siblings and the friends who trusted that an MIB was a better fit for us than an MBA, or that taking a year of work to reset or to retool was an idea worth supporting. To the Fletcher spouses who have endured our culture nights and greenhouse parties, never dropping the ball at home while your partners drag the long and heavy chain across the finish line. Thank you. To Skype, WhatsApp, Twitter, Instagram, and Julia Leivick's Snapchats. Thanks for keeping friendships strong, holding some relationships together, and for those of us terribly far from home, delivering that soothing voice from a loved one. To my family, to my family, thank you for giving me wings and mending them along the way so that I could continue to soar. To my twin sister Fallon, alumnus of the Tufts Veterinary School, thank you for inspiring me to speak today. To the Fletcher class of 2015, to perpetuate our undeniable legacy of courage, let us confront the world's challenges with grit and resilience. Not shying away from issues that are uncomfortable or unpopular. Courage is uncomfortable. In the words of H. Ballou, the first president of this great university, may we be a source of illumination, a beacon standing on a hill where our light cannot be hidden. Fletcher graduates, shine bright that light into the shadows. Thank you and congratulations.
Don't forget your shoes.